Hello and welcome to today's reading. There is quite a lot to get through today. So many messages came through to me last night and I was scribbling away as they came through. If you're new to my channel, the way that I do this is that when I'm in the sort of meditative state, I get random, seemingly random words, phrases, images come through to me. And what I do is I write them down because once they've come in, I can't remember them with my conscious brain. So that's the way it works for me. So we'll get straight into it today. So the first thing that came up was just the word sentience. So we are all sentient beings. We are capable of feeling, capable of having emotions, being able to feel sensations in our body. And I'm getting the impression that you are getting better at being able to do that, and you're having more of an awareness of the feelings that you're experiencing, the sensations that certain things are having on your body, the way that things are making you feel. I get the impression that you're really getting to a point where you're able to tune into that more, and that's helping you to be able to make the right decisions for you and move forwards. Now, if this doesn't resonate for you and you don't feel like you're at this point, you might resonate more with yesterday's message, which was all about not being able to feel that so much and not being totally clear about what your emotions are. So I'll put a link to that video in the description, because if you don't resonate with this one, you might resonate with yesterday's. Okay, I'll carry on. So the next thing that came through after the word sentience, it was a man's voice that came through, like a snippet of conversation that I heard, and it said, well, that's unheard of. Now, this doesn't mean that this is a man that said this to you, or that you identify as a man, or whatever. This is just the way that I hear it. So what I'm getting from that is that this new ability to be able to, not ability, but this new awareness that you have of really being able to tune into yourself and drop into how you're feeling and really start to trust that intuition. I get the feeling that that's something that's quite new to you, and that you've not sort of been aware of that for a long time for whatever reason. And it's quite new, and it's kind of a little bit unsettling for you at times, because it's starting to make you really question your reality and question the position that you're in now. Is the life that you're in really what you want to be living? Is the situation that you're in really what you want to be living? The job, the relationship, the hobbies that you enjoy even, are they really true to yourself? And you're starting to question this, and the feeling that I'm getting is that it's actually making you feel a little bit lost. So although you've tuned into this new awareness of how you actually feel about things, and that's a good thing, it's kind of like having a bit of a dual effect on you as well, in that, well, actually this new awareness is a little bit scary, because it's taken me out of what feels comfortable and what I'm used to. But this is all part of a learning journey, and it's all part of, I want to say, a spiritual path. So I think a few of you are on a spiritual path, and I've talked about that in a previous video as well. Now, along with the words that came through of that's unheard of, there was also an image that came in of being stood in a very high building looking out of a window over a city. And I'm going to come back to the feeling of what I was just talking about, is that now you've got this new awareness and starting to question your situation and reality, and the feeling of being lost. You're looking out over this city and thinking, why do I feel so lost here? I'm surrounded by millions of other people. There are so many things that I could be doing, so many people I could be connecting with, but I just feel a little bit lost, and like something here isn't right. Now, this might like literally resonate for you. This could be you living in this city life and just feeling like something's a little bit off, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that. It could just be that you're in a situation that isn't right for you anymore, and despite it being something that you've been in for a while and something that's been comfortable, now that you have this new awareness, it's just not quite sitting right. Something's not quite sitting right. So as you stood here looking out of this window at this cityscape, a pigeon flies past and it goes shooting past the window. And as you view this pigeon, you get the idea that you want the freedom that this pigeon has. You want more freedom. So for some of you, it feels like you're trapped. You're trapped in this situation that you're in, which that's really hitting my heart space, is that. So as you're watching this pigeon, what happens is it morphs into a parrot, a beautiful sort of scarlet macaw type, a beautiful, colourful parrot. And as that happens, the cityscape then sort of morphs into a tropical paradise sort of image. And I'm getting it, like bright flowers, lush greenery, turquoise seas, your stereotypical tropical paradise is what's coming to mind. And what it's feeling like you need is, I don't know, I think this is something that could be different for different people here. So let me know in the comments, I'm losing my words now, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me know in the comments which one of these resonates, if any. So for some of you, this is feeling like you need a break. You need a break from this situation that you're in where you're feeling a little bit lost. You're feeling like you need to have some quiet and some stillness to be able to really lean into this sentience that you get in, this sort of like heightened awareness. So a break. And I'm not saying you have to go and book a fancy holiday to a tropical paradise. I'll let you know that where I live in Yorkshire in northern England, we have this saying in England that, it's grim up north, because it always rains. But for the past few weeks, we've had absolutely beautiful weather. It's unheard of. And I was only saying to my friend last night, we went for a wild swim in our local lake, and I was saying, I feel like I'm somewhere tropical at the moment. The skies were perfectly blue and everything looks so lush and green because all the leaves have come out on the trees now. So anyhow, that as an aside, what I was saying is, you don't necessarily have to book a tropical holiday to get this feeling of peace. So anywhere that you can go to get some stillness, anywhere that feels like a paradise to you. So that could be, your local park, somewhere that you like to go walk in, your local woodland, anything like that, just to get a break from this situation that you're in, this high-rise building that you feel trapped in, to get some clarity. Okay. For others of you, I feel like you're on the verge of moving into something, a reality that is more of an idyllic place that you want to be. So you're on the verge of stepping into something that is actually like your preferred place. Now that you've got this new awareness of what's actually right for you, you're stepping into your version of this tropical paradise. And it feels quieter and slower and just a much nicer pace of life that's sort of more in alignment with who you are, and it's going to give you that space to start living a bit more authentically. So quite a strong message, that one. Let me know in the comments if that's resonating for you. So the next thing that came through was a woman's voice, and I could see it as a woman speaking, and there were two men in this thing, and she's saying, I don't love either of you. So I don't necessarily get that this is like some sort of weird love triangle for a lot of people. I mean, it might be that that's what's happening in your life at the moment. But I get more that it's something about some conflict that you have going on, perhaps internally. So it's that there are two directions that you're able to go in at the moment, and you sort of feeling like, well, I'm not actually in love with either of these things. And I'm not quite sure how that's relating to the rest of the message. And I'm being totally honest with you there. It might start to resonate more as I carry on reading through. But if you have any sort of intuition as to what that might mean for you, again, pop it in the comments. Okay. The next phrase that came through was in the dark. And I get that this is something that's happening in the past. So I feel like before this new awareness came through, this sentience that's becoming more apparent, you were in the dark about a lot of things. You weren't quite sure what was right for you. Things, You were just kind of going along with things, but not from a place sort of inside here. It was just, I'm getting the feeling like societal expectations, sort of just what's the norm, you know, the status quo type of thing, the normal way of doing things, whatever normal is. But what's happening as I'm getting this phrase of in the dark and that being in the past, I get the image then of being inside an egg. It's really weird. But this egg is starting to crack open and there's the light coming in. And the light coming in is this capacity to be able to experience these emotions and this new way of thinking, this new way of being, this new awareness. And the more that you're leaning into that, the more this egg is cracking open and letting that light in. So that was a really nice message. That might tie back to the bit I was just talking about, these two different paths, but neither of them feel right. Maybe the more that you're letting this light in, the clearer that's going to get. See, I told you, as we work our way through these, the meanings drop in. Okay. Now, the next thing that came through was another voice again, and this time it was a woman's voice again, and it said, "Don't worry, you won't let her down." Now, whether you're male or female, you know, I don't think this is about letting anyone in particular down other than yourself. So it's almost like you're being encouraged to trust that what you know you want to move into, this idyllic paradise that you wanted to move into, if you go ahead with that path, you're not going to let yourself down. But that's only if you continue to have this awareness and be able to use your own intuition and make decisions from the heart. So you won't let yourself down. Now, it could be that this message is actually about not being able to, not letting somebody else down. So there might be resistance there about you moving into something new if you feel like you're going to be letting somebody else down. But the thing is, if you're living out of alignment and not being true to yourself, you don't have the capacity to be able to give to others either. So actually, you know, that person you feel like you might be letting down by moving into your own tropical paradise, the message coming through is that don't worry, you're not letting that person down. I think sometimes what happens when you move into your own truth is that it actually inspires others to do the same for them. Okay. The next thing that came up was the phrase, "It's in the frame." Now, for some of you, I get that this is an actual literal thing that you're doing. You're putting something in a frame, whether it's a photo or a certificate of some kind. In fact, I get that for some of you, you're doing a bit of vision boarding sort of thing. You're manifesting this paradise that you're wanting to move towards, this new thing that you are working towards, you know, whether it be a new home, a new place to live, a new job, a new career, a new relationship. You're vision boarding it, you're manifesting it, you're in the process of doing that. So you know, you're putting these things in a frame and putting them up. It's also coming through for some of you, it is about a certificate. You know, you're currently doing something to move further towards this paradise that you're moving towards, this idyllic place you want to be. So for some of you, I get that you're doing this training and you either you're at the point of doing it or just have done, or you're not far off being able to put your certificate in a frame to say, I've done this, I'm moving towards this that I'm wanting to achieve, you know, this new place I want to be. Yeah, that felt really nice, that one. Now the next phrase that came through was, "It'll spoil the surprise of it." And for this one, I'm pulling back to that message that I said before about being in the dark. I think you've needed to be in the dark about something, because if you weren't in the dark, you might have chosen a different path, if that makes sense. So sometimes by being in the dark and just sort of allowing things to naturally unfold, we're able to navigate things in a way that might have been counterintuitive if we'd have had light on the subject. And I think sometimes when you're in the dark like that, you do move more from the heart space and from intuition than you do from the logical mind. Sometimes when something is fully illuminated, you make decisions from the mind and from the ego, and you follow what feels like a more logical path, but actually logic doesn't always give you the best results. I'd take that with a pinch of caution, because of course you do need to apply logic to a lot of circumstances in life. But by being in the dark, you've navigated it through feel, which feels really nice. And it's pulling back to this new heightened awareness of how you're feeling about things, and leaning more into your emotions. Okay, now the next phrase that came through really strong was, that could have been the answer to that nasty problem. So I feel like if you'd not been in the dark, you might have tackled something differently. These are all tying together, and it is a little bit abstract. So this message will have different meanings for different people depending on what your circumstances are at the moment. So that could have been the answer to that nasty problem. So I think that by being in the dark and feeling your way through it, you've come to a natural conclusion about something, and that, you know, leaning into your intuition has given you more clarity about how to tackle a problem in your life. Again, it comes back to this logic thing. Sometimes when we apply logic and we overthink things, we can go around in circles and not have total clarity over how we should tackle a problem. And sometimes when you give yourself that space to drop into the feel of it, the solution just comes. So sometimes by being in the dark and not having all of the answers, you reach your own way of tackling something. I hope that makes sense. If anyone can make more sense of that in the comments, please do. But I do hope it resonates. Okay. And then the message that's coming through, and this is the sort of advice part of today's reading, is that sometimes you just have to let life unfold. And I think that's what you've been doing. But then what comes back to that is, getting out of that logical mind, feeling more, letting life unfold. And I'm going to link back to yesterday's message again, where I talked a lot about being in the present and how that can help you get into your intuition. So when you're in the present and you're not as involved in the overworkings of your mind, sort of thinking about the past, thinking about what might happen in the future, you're fully in the present, you're more awake to any opportunities that present themselves. So this is the message that's coming through now. It is to take life as it comes, one day at a time, one step at a time, and really be in the present to be able to notice when an opportunity is being offered to you. And when those opportunities get offered to you, give yourself some time and some space and some stillness and quietness to sink into that heart space to then make your decision. I hope that makes sense. So that's the advice that's coming through. So yeah, a really, really sort of convoluted message today, but I do think it all links in well. I'd really love to know where you're at with things at the moment and which parts of this message resonated for you. So please put loads of comments in, and like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification for all my future updates that come through. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for being with me today. All right.